Welcome back to Heart of Glass, the podcast, the show that takes a deeper, more intimate look at the awesome humans who make up the heartbeat of the Glass City. My name is Ashley Cohn, and I'm your host, and we are thrilled to be filming once again at Toledo Spirits. They are our awesome sponsor, and if you haven't had a chance to try Heart of Glass vodka, our namesake, definitely give it a try. It's delicious, as well as their very, very big menu of cocktails and several different house-made liquors, so make sure to come to Toledo Spirits and give them a try. Well, I'm very excited because today's our first interview that's going to involve more than one guest, so I'm excited about this. This is going to be new for us. Today's Glass City guests are partners in both the personal and professional sense. They are a married couple who felt passionately about creating and fostering a safe space for all members of the Toledo LGBTQ plus community. They've definitely succeeded in doing just that as the owners of Grindhrs Coffee Community. This very special coffee shop has become a hub for creatively crafted coffee drinks, entertainment, and as a place to belong. And I can't wait to learn more about these two incredible people who started it all. So Glass City humans, I give you Becca Ferstle and Leann Cantrell from Grindhrs. Thank you so much for being here, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I think, like I was telling you before we started, we've had you on our hot list of people that we've wanted to interview since Tiernan and I first started talking. Our very first conversation, we were talking about potential guests, and we definitely wanted to talk to both of you just because Grindhrs has become such a staple in the community. So I'm excited to learn more about Grindhrs and what went into starting it and what it's been like for you all so far. But I'm also excited to get to know the two of you as people because you're such an important part of our community. So thanks for hanging with me today.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. So my first question I wanted to ask both of you are you from the Toledo area, both of you? Are you?
No, neither.
Okay,
Sorry.
Neither of you are. Okay, where did you grow up, Leann?
Gibsonburg.
Ohio,
yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then what about you?
I'm from Michigan.
From Michigan?
I went to I lived in Lake Orion growing up.
Okay, all right. Well, Leann, when did you move to Toledo?
2014, I moved to Perrysburg and then have been in or around the Toledo area since then.
Okay, and then what about you?
Well, I moved to Bowling Green in 2007, and then from there again, we were in Perrys. It was funny because we were in Perrysburg around the same time, but we never met until we were both in Toledo.
Okay.
But eventually moved downtown and fell in love with it.
Awesome. So what brought each of you to Toledo? What about you, Leann?
Nothing in particular.
Nothing specifically? All right.
Just moved here with a couple, with my partner at the time and my friends. We got an apartment together.
Okay, all right. That's cool though. All right, what about you, Becca?
Well, I moved to Ohio for school. I went to Bowling Green State University, and then I just kind of stayed because I loved Ohio and the greater Toledo area. So specifically for work, brought me to Toledo specifically.
Okay, and prior to the coffee shop, I know you were deployed prior to the coffee shop. What were you doing specifically? Were you a career military individual, or were you doing something else prior to being deployed?
I worked at Harbor previously, and then worked at Zeph after.
What did you do there?
As a case manager.
Nice. Okay. So helping people is in your wheelhouse anyway. It doesn't surprise me that you would want to provide a space that would reach a bunch of people. That's awesome. What about you, Becca? What were you doing?
I was in hospitality management. I was a hotel manager for several years.
Okay. All right. Well, then that kind of, for me, that makes a lot of sense. You have the heart, and then also you have that hospitality knowledge. So you know how to serve people, and you know how to create a really cool space for people. So I can totally see why the two of you together as professional, as business partners would work really well. So before we dive deep into coffee, because we're definitely going to do that, I'd love to get to know who the two of you are as a couple. So how did you guys meet?
We met on Tinder.
You met on Tinder? Hey, I mean, now in this day and age, I feel like I talk to very few people who don't meet online or on an app in some form or another. Okay. How long ago was that?
Oh, just
2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like at the beginning of the year, like January-ish.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. What drew you two to each other?
Our profile pictures.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, physical attraction is obviously important. Okay, so Leann, then once you guys got past wow, we both think the other one is really cute. So then for you, what was it that made you want to stick around longer than just her pretty face?
We met up at George's for the first time, and we just so it was kind of like a brief interaction, but the I guess short period that we talked, I liked a lot of things about her.
Did you? That's good. Well, you must have.
Yeah.
She's still sitting.
So then we got married less than 3 months later.
Hey, all right. Wow, that is very lesbian.
It's one of the gayest things I've ever done.
So what about you, Becca? After you got past how cute she was,
So cute.
what was it about
Cutest.
Leann that drew you to her?
Well, what our first couple of dates, I feel like really helped us have a deeper connection. I lived downtown, and it was interesting because I had recently gone through the experience where I wanted to move away. I was over Toledo, and then I got a new job downtown and moved downtown and totally fell in love with Toledo and, the rebirth of downtown. So she was kind of at that point where I was when we first met, and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to show you all the cool things about Toledo. And I lived downtown, so a lot of our first dates were just going for runs like downtown, and I took her to Middle Ground and a bunch of different places she didn't even know existed. So that was really fun for me, and just seeing her like realize, you know what, like Toledo is pretty cool. Maybe I'll stay, and I'm really glad I was able to talk her into it. So
I'm glad you were too. Leann, I think you're not very uncommon from the standpoint that until people really see it, the downtown area is actually a perfect example. Mm-hmm. That's when I have somebody come into town to visit me who either hasn't spent much time in Toledo, has an outdated view of Toledo, or they've just never been here before. One of the first places I like to take them is downtown, because downtown's been built up so much. It's been so revitalized, and we have all these incredible things like Middle Ground Metro Park, which unless you've been down and you've seen it and you've heard of it, you wouldn't even know it was there. So that's really cool that you had the opportunity to show her that Toledo wasn't that bad.
Yeah. And now we have Grindhrs.
And now Grindhrs came out
Yeah.
of it. So what was it like for, each of us as members of the LGBTQ plus community, we all have our own unique stories from when we were growing up, what growing up was like for each of us. And some people have really positive stories of what it was like for them as a member of the community growing up, and some not so much. So where did that fall for the two of you? What was your experience like? We'll just start. I'll try and help you know who.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll start with you, Leann.
I came out when I was pretty young, like maybe 13 or 14. So, and I grew up in a very small town, so I didn't have. It wasn't the worst experience, but it wasn't the best experience, I guess. But I had enough support
That's good.
Made it.
I would imagine being in a smaller town growing up as someone who's a part of the LGBTQ community is difficult purely from the standpoint that even if it's not a really toxic environment, the population itself is really small. So I could see that feeling very isolating just if you don't have very many people around you to identify with, you know what I mean? So other than that though, just the small town nature of it did you have a pretty good experience?
Okay, it could have been better.
Could it?
But yeah.
How so?
Just the isolation of it and not knowing other gay people. Or I had, like, my best friend had come out, but then he moved, and so then I was just kind of alone in that, and
feeling like the odd person out, I would imagine.
So it definitely made me like isolate myself even more, I think, because
that makes a lot of sense. Most definitely. What about for you, Becca? What was it like for you?
My experience was way different. So I didn't come out really until I was like 29. So I was much older, and I think the reason for that was I wasn't in a very diverse community. It wasn't as small quite as Gibsonburg, but it was still just not diverse. So I went a long time just not knowing, and then there were, as far as adolescents go, I think everyone can pretty much relate, is everyone just strives to be normal and to fit in, or for me, I just wanted to fly under the radar screen and not be noticed. So I think with that kind of being my MO, I kind of ignored a lot of signs that to me, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. But when I was young, just kind of disregarded it. So I was quite a bit older, but I think the Toledo just community in general helped me, to realize, and I think also with it being, later, it coming out was easier because my family was more accepting than I think they would have been if I was, like Leann said, when I was younger. I think my friends and family might have had a harder time with it. The same way a lot of our friends had, that experience when they were younger. So
that makes a lot of sense. I think there are things that are easier about coming out when you're younger, but also harder. And then same thing, if you come out when you're a little bit older. I know that for a lot of my friends that I came out in my early 20s. For a lot of my friends that I had who came out when they were your age, even younger, some right around there, I heard a lot of the same story of I just wasn't taken seriously. Like maybe I didn't know what I really wanted, and then I've heard from my friends who came out when they were a little bit older that the challenge was, well, what do you mean you've just changed your mind?
Right, yeah.
So there can be things that, well, it has to be easier for you because you've been doing this for so long, and then it could be said, well, you get to do this as an adult, and people will maybe take you seriously more, but that's not necessarily the case. Everybody's situation is so unique.
Yeah.
What did you find as far as feeling like a sense of freedom coming out a little bit later in life? Did you notice that you did feel a little bit freer when you did that and felt a little bit more like yourself?
Right, absolutely. It was very, felt a difference in myself when I finally accepted that and started saying it out loud. I was almost a different person. I was more confident. I was a lot less rigid. I hate to use that word, but it's I was just so concerned and uptight about people finding out my secret. And when I started just accepting it and talking about it, I was pleasantly surprised, and then it did feel so much better. So.
That's awesome. So what do both of you in your own individual ways love about specifically our Toledo LGBTQ plus community? Leann, what about you?
I like that it is for Toledo being a bigger city, it's it has that small community support, where I feel like people just are supportive of each other, and it doesn't matter what anybody's profession is. We all can just relate on that level, I guess.
That
so it
makes a lot of
doesn't,
sense.
it's not, I don't feel like it's so much as separate, if we were straight, it wouldn't be we hang out with these people and we hang out with these people or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Yeah,
Where
I
it's
totally
just
know what you mean.
we have this common trauma bonding experience, I guess.
Yes. That's true though, right? Right. It is nice. There definitely is an air of inclusivity that we have here in Toledo. So I totally know what you're saying. I mean, we have, when you think about our LGBTQ plus population that we have just here in Toledo, I mean, you're looking at people from just about every single walk of life that work. You can have one person who's working, they're a CEO for a corporation. You have somebody who's working a smaller part-time job. They sit down at the table and they still have things in common. And I totally know what you mean. The inclusivity factor here is awesome. What about you, Becca?
A lot of the same. Also, I love. The community in general has been so supportive, and I think we really knew that about Toledo previously, but just when we, opened Grindhrs, just the community coming together and, reassuring us, we could really feel the love, not to sound cliche, but we could really feel the love and how strong our community is here.
That's wonderful. That is one thing that I was going to ask both of you. Did you feel an overall air of solid support when you were in the process of opening up Grindhrs?
I think so.
That's awesome. It really did seem like the community as a whole really rallied around the idea, because we haven't had anything like that here. So let's start to lay the groundwork for the conception of the coffee shop. So Leann, when you were deployed, you were making up fun LGBTQ themed business ideas and you would text them to Becca. So we're just gonna start there. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, before I deployed, I was planning on leaving Toledo, and then when we met, I just wanted to do something different when I came back, and I wasn't sure what it was, but I just wanted to do something different, and I feel like, I guess being deployed kind of provided the opportunity financially to like save money to actually work toward starting a business where it wasn't really, it just didn't seem like fiscally possible before.
Okay.
So like I could have all the ideas, but what am I gonna do with ideas? I
the
guess.
money part is an important part. Yeah.
But yeah, so I just had a lot of time to
I bet. So were you literally just coming up with the fun names as kind of a pastime to?
Yeah, and then I kind of like stuck with like coffee shop. I worked in a coffee shop previously, and I really liked it, and it's been something that was like if I could do something like that would be it.
Be a coffee shop. I do have to say, because Becca listed out a couple of the names that you came up with, and the lesbian barbershop.
Yeah.
Oh,
Scissors.
scissors.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I'm not saying that won't happen eventually, but
Right. So you're sharing these fun names with her, and you're feeling like this isn't necessarily something that's realistic, but she shared her ideas with you and the coffee shop idea, and I think you said something along the lines of you don't even realize how realistic these ideas were.
Mm-hmm.
So then after that, did it kind of become more of a talking about it as a reality? Did you know prior to when you got back that the two of you were for sure going to do this, that was the plan?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. What
So
a
we
cool
talked
thing to
about it
come
a
back
lot.
to.
so.
Did you talk about it a lot? while you
Yeah,
were
and
there?
then to anybody who would listen to me, well,
That's awesome though. I would imagine too that was also a really positive thing for you to be able to focus on while you were probably in a less than ideal situation. So I imagine that was that helpful and helped you kind of maintain a positive mindset.
Yeah. have something to look forward to. And
That's awesome. So why was it important for both of you to bring a safe space like Grindhrs to Toledo?
for me, I think it's a space that I definitely felt like I needed, and I would have been pretty happy if somebody else would have done it too, just because I feel like I personally need a space that's not necessarily like revolving around alcohol, that I can feel like a sense of community and just like exist and feel comfortable, but not always have like the pressure to have a drink or just to just exist. And I also felt like I could have used it when I was younger because I didn't have anything like that, and so I would wait, until I was old enough to go to gay bars and black out and so,
right.
and just not, I don't know. I wanted, because I still wanted to have like that sense of community, but I don't always want to go out and have a drink or several. So
That makes
and
a lot of
also
sense.
like having younger people who don't have that period to just like go and exist and be with their friends and not feel like they're being judged or feel uncomfortable or anything, and also people that are in recovery that also like have lost that sense of community because they don't feel comfortable yet going like into a bar setting without having a drink. So I just wanted to create like an alternate, like as opposed to a bar, just like something else that's a little bit that more people can participate in.
I love that because I feel like you guys are in a really good way feeding into the inclusivity aspect of our community, because you have now taken two groups that are very much isolated from a lot of gay nightlife or just social activities, and you've created a space where now those people can come and enjoy. And I'm totally with you, because I know when you're under 21, where do you really hang out, and where can you know walking in that it's a safe space no matter what? Because I know I've been out for many years, but I know for myself personally, walking into Grindhrs, I feel like my shoulders relax a little bit, because when you're walking in, literally every single person that's in that space is a safe person, and that's a really good feeling. What about for you? Why was it important for you, Becca, to create this safe space?
A lot of the same, I think, like youth specifically is important because I think I might have come out sooner if I would have had a space where I was able to exist and feel comfortable and be myself, and feel okay and accepted. And I think that's really important for young people. And as like Leann touched on a little bit, I think unfortunately a lot of our youth that are community members, it's very innocent. They just want to be part of the community and do something, but it's not, they really shouldn't go to bars unless they're 21. So we want to make sure that they have, a space too. And as well as people that are in recovery or maybe don't feel like drinking, it's important for them as well to have, a space.
That's wonderful. So besides creating this awesome safe space that is conducive for literally anyone to be able to come in and feel welcome, what sets Grindhrs apart from other coffee shops?
I don't know.
I can think of a lot of things, but I want to hear from the two of you.
I don't know really. I don't know
Do you want an outsider's perspective?
Yeah.
I, like you, used to be a barista. I actually was for years in a few different coffee shops, and I love coffee shops, specifically local ones. So when I visit another city, besides finding out just where the awesome food is, I want to know where the good local coffee shops are. And so I've been in several, and a lot of them kind of have the same makeup when you walk in, with the exception of the aesthetics look a little different. I have never been in a coffee shop other than Grindhrs that has drag. That in and of itself definitely sets it apart. The fact that it is totally geared towards, obviously anyone can come in there, but it is very much a declared safe space for LGBTQ plus people. I've never been in another coffee shop like that. And then besides that, your menu's unique, actually. I think doing the cold brew floats and the cold brew flights was such a brilliant idea. I'd never had a cold brew float before coming into Grindhrs either. So for me, just purely those few things, that to me definitely sets you all apart, in that I have yet to go into another coffee shop where I've seen those things. What about you, Becca? From your perspective, is there anything that you can see that sets you all apart?
I think I love our flights and floats as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really different. And then honestly, we're just lucky to have an amazing barista team as well.
You do have an amazing team.
I don't think we would be what we are today if we didn't meet the baristas we did. We were very lucky, all of them. It was like simple, but it wasn't. We, posted the job online before, we opened, and, interviewed people, and, they were just blew us away with their experience and their incredible personalities and excitement for what we were trying to do for Toledo. So though our menu is like incredible, we can't really personally take credit for everything. And I think we're just, we kind of had the idea like, oh, we should have ice cream, and wouldn't it be cool if we did this? But they really took that and ran with it. And, we love our team, and, and we're coming off of a busy Pride weekend, so I'm not trying to get like too,
very busy weekend.
Very busy weekend, and they, were incredible. We couldn't do it without them.
I'm sure they don't mind you bragging about them,
no,
right?
I hope not.
I can definitely attest to how awesome they are, because I think I've ended up laughing every time I've come in just to order, because they're so animated and so good at making you feel welcome, and you can tell that they're all actually enjoying being there, which you can always tell when you walk into a place if people actually want to be there or not. You can tell they're having fun, and that they want to, if you don't know what you want, they want to help you figure that out, and just generally make you feel welcome, which once again adds to what you guys are trying to accomplish, which is really, really awesome.
We try to make it a fun place, and I'm glad that it's fun for them too.
That's awesome. Yeah, you could tell they're having a lot of fun. So let's talk about your partnership with Uncommon Coffee Roasters. Why did you guys land on them as your supplier?
We Googled.
Yeah.
When I was deployed, I was like, where do they even get their beans from? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like coffee shops, like what do we do? And so it's like, oh, coffee roasters. So then we Googled just LGBT coffee roasters and then found them. And they're in Saugatuck, Michigan, which is just a couple hours up north. So it was like nearby.
And that's
like,
a
close
very
enough.
LGBTQ plus friendly area, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah. So then Becca had reached out to them and they responded pretty immediately and told us all the things that they would provide. We scheduled a time to go up there and stay the weekend and got to tour their roasting facility and got to like see their cafe and ask all the questions we had. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, the coffee itself, I love what they stand for, but the coffee itself is very, very good. So
yeah, so that's
wonderful.
what we got to try their coffee too, and I was like, oh, I hope it's good because they're so great. Like, I hope the coffee's good too.
Right?
So.
Well, I'm glad you guys found a great product, but I'm also so glad that to know of an LGBTQ plus supplier out there. I didn't know that there was one that is specifically that out there. So that's awesome, and I'm glad that you guys were able to find them. So Leann, I know that you enjoy being a barista and you romanticize the whole coffee shop atmosphere. So now that you're actually an owner of one, is the romanticism still there?
It's been a journey.
Has it?
And I feel like it's been a lot of just trying to find my footing and trying to, so it's a whole lot of doing things I've never done before and never thought of before that I would have to do. So it's a little bit, it's not hard, it's not necessarily harder than what I thought it'd be, but I was just like a lot of like growth, like in self-growth and learning and trying to figure out like having to not having someone tell me what to do and having to be the one to make decisions was I don't know was something I was ready for, and just trying to get comfortable with just existing in a space that and that I have to do the decision making for because but it's better. I don't know. It's better now that I feel like I had a really hard time at first, just trying, like not knowing what I was doing and just feeling like I was failing every day, and to just like getting comfortable and just accepting that I don't know what I'm doing and I'm figuring it out. And so
that's awesome. That does sound like a lot of really good self-growth. I feel like the most uncomfortable stuff that we end up encountering is usually the stuff that ends up making us stronger, more evolved people. And I can imagine, because I've never owned my own business, but I can imagine as a new business owner, there are a ton of things that just honestly don't cross your mind because you just don't know that they're an essential part of running a business. So I can just imagine that encountering those, it would definitely take some getting used to and being uncomfortable learning to be comfortable in the uncomfortable and not necessarily knowing what you're doing. How has it been for you being a new business owner?
A lot. I think flexibility has been the key word since we've opened. So just rolling with the punches. The first couple of months, I think we've just started to grow a lot, where whenever something new would come up, like unexpected, like, oh, this wasn't on our list that we created for ourselves, like what do we do? And panicking and getting past there's no corporate to call, it's literally us. We just like, okay, well, let's figure it out, let's work together. So I think it took us a couple of months to get to that point where we just be like, okay, well, this is our temporary fix, let's worry about the long-term fix in a couple of hours once the shop closes, and go from there. And just being flexible has really been key with being a business owner.
I bet.
So,
do you both consider yourselves to naturally be pretty flexible, go with the flow people, or is the actual flexibility factor, has that taken some growth for both of you?
I like structure and
Structure,
routine.
yes.
So
Structure is excellent.
So it's been hard to navigate without the everyday, like this is what my day-to-day looks like, because it's different every day. And so it's But I don't know, I've been just trying to focus on embracing the way things are instead of like trying to make them how I think they should be. And it's more enjoyable that way.
That's good. What about for you? Is flexibility naturally a part of who you are, or is that something for you too that's taken some growth with learning to just kind of roll with the punches, and the day may not look exactly like what you intended it to look like?
I think yes and no. As far as like my personality, I'm usually quite flexible, but when it comes to work, I was just formerly used to something more structured from coming from like managing a hotel for brands that were very like militant of this is how it's supposed to be, to owning my own coffee shop that wasn't corporate, it was our own, and realizing like the answer is whatever I want it to be, you know, and being okay with that was a little daunting and a lot of pressure, but I think, you know, we learned a lot, and
That's awesome.
I think it's going well.
It seems like it's going pretty well.
I think it's going
okay.
well. So
That's great. So are there future plans or dreams to potentially open up an additional Grindhrs location, or to just simply continue on this theme of opening up LGBTQ centered businesses, even if it's outside of the coffee realm?
We've had a few like opportunities, I guess, to open up a second location, but we're just so busy trying to figure out the first one. So I don't, maybe in the future when we have it together a little bit more, it would be something I'd be interested in, but it's just a lot right now to do the one.
I bet it is. I can just imagine being a new business owner and not totally feeling like you've nailed everything, and then also additionally trying to open something else new at the same time. That I can imagine that the stress level of that would be pretty significant.
I think I would know more if we did decide to open another location, or not. Like we have more knowledge than we did when we opened this one, so I think it would be a little bit smoother, or we would know to expect the unexpected at least.
Right. Well, if you all ever do get to that point where you are deciding that you want to continue to expand, I would love to have you back again, just from the standpoint that, like you said, you know so much more now than when you first started, to almost just check in and see, okay, how is this experience different than what it was like for you when you were opening Grindhrs and getting it off the ground, and even in how long has Grindhrs been open now?
a little over a year. We opened
almost a year and a half.
Okay. Yeah, I can just imagine everything you've learned so much in that year and a half. So I can just imagine if and when you were to get to that point, the just the knowledge that you would have, the wealth of knowledge to be able to pull from. We'll have to do that. We'll have to set up like an updated kind of a thing. So if you could give advice to any other people out there who also have a dream of opening up their own version of the safe space that they would have wanted when they were younger, what advice would you give to them about making that a reality?
Probably to get out of your own way, because I feel like I had to do that a lot, and to show yourself grace, because those are two things that I struggled with and would have made things easier if I could have done that.
That's really good advice. What about you, Becca? What advice would you give?
Both of those things are huge. And then in addition to just accepting help, I think. We're both very stubborn, I think. So when it came to, opening, we wanted to be very hands-on for, everything. So I think sometimes when, help was offered, we didn't always accept, and it was just, and then we ended up doing so many things ourselves, and I think we kind of ran ourselves into the ground, and I think that could have been, prevented, like in the beginning somehow, but just accepting help and support, because especially with our community, everyone's so supportive and giving, and they want to see success. So I think just, when help is offered, take it and say thank you, and
That's really good advice. I know Okay, so I'm somebody that has a hard time with the things that you mentioned.
Mhm.
I'm also somebody who has a hard time accepting help, and sometimes for me, especially if it's a new endeavor, I will sometimes struggle to know how to tell people to help me. So I can imagine, to a certain extent, to y'all's credit, you were starting this new thing. I would imagine at some points when help was offered, it would probably almost be hard to know how to tell people to help you.
Right,
When
yeah.
you're also figuring it out along the way. I think it's amazing that you all are as far into this now, because I would imagine you probably are at a point now where you are able to say, yes, that we know for sure this is the thing that we need help with, and would accept it.
Right.
Well, I just wanted to say to both of you, one, thank you for coming on here, and also thank you so much for what you're doing for our city. Seriously, for everyone in our city. I'm thinking of our youth specifically. What you have created for our LGBTQ plus youth is a priceless place, because like we were talking, I'm like you. This is something that I would have loved to have had when I was younger, because I think that sometimes purely being in an environment of love and acceptance, even if it's not blatantly stated, can be the difference between people thriving and people just kind of never fully being able to be who they are. So thank you both for giving that to our community, and specifically to the youth in our community. If you would look right at this camera right here that's closest to me, and let our wonderful people who are watching and listening know where they can find Grindhrs on social media. And then if you all have any special events coming up in the next month or so, if you want to plug them as well, the floor is yours.
Do you want me to say them?
Yeah.
Please visit us at Grindhrs on Facebook. It's Grindhrs Coffee, and then also on Instagram. We do have monthly drag events and monthly open mic. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram to get those dates. Thank you so much.
To all of you who are watching and listening, thank you so much for tuning in again with us. If you haven't already liked our Facebook or followed us on Instagram, you can find us at Heart of Glass the Pod. If you would like to just listen to us, you can listen on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in again to learn a little bit more about more awesome humans who make up the heartbeat of the Glass City. Thank you, and we'll see you again next time.